Master Tavern Keeper's History of the Old World. Skeggy, a decade earlier. But that is something I've always wondered about. You just mentioned slaying a troll, as well as there being dragon and demon slayers. What's the difference between all these types of slayers?
That's simple, manling. What you call depends on what you kill. Or, more importantly, the most difficult thing to kill that you've killed. But there is still a bit of hierarchy to it. After all, some things are harder to kill than others, and some things you kill are not worth mentioning at all. To call a dwarf a goblin or a rat slayer is more of a point of embarrassment than something to be known for.
Ah, yes. Well, that makes sense. So what then are the, how would you say it? What then are the grades of being a slayer?
Never heard it described like that. But I understand what you mean. Once it. The first rung, by which I mean the most common type of slayers, are dead slayers. Most who take the oath do a fine job of dying on the blades of our enemies in no short amount of time, both fulfilling their oath and restoring their honor. After that come the living. We that have failed to get ourselves killed despite our best efforts. One of the first creatures that many a slayer will attempt to fell is the troll. Dim-witted and slow, but tougher than the work boots of a Narwangli.
I'm sorry, a what?
A Narwangli. I mean dwarf dung collector. Sodden dung does something funny to the leather, you see. Once it. There are trolls aplenty in the caves of Peak Pass, so more often than not, the first big monster a newly oath-bound slayer will indeed come across will be a troll, whether they're looking for one or not. It was the case for me. As you can see, Bama, Nogarung.
You what? Oh! Your strange-looking tankard that you always drink out of. It's made from a troll's skull. I'd always wondered.
Aye, that it be. And not just any troll's skull. The first one I ever felled. I'll come to that little event soon. Once it, a notch up from troll slayers are giant slayers. It is no mean feat to kill one of these. Let me tell you.
What? So you've killed a giant as well?
Of course I have. The mountains around Kraka Omsmatek all full of them. You can't spit without hitting a frosty longshanks in those parts. Once it, after your troll and giant slayers, there is still lots more. You've your ogre and yeti slayers, your mammoth, manticore, chimera, wyvern and maw slayers. You look confused, manling. A maw slayer. A maw slayer is a killer of one of the dread maws of the ancient blood nagas. You're still confused. Ah, forget about it. I've not finished. For on the seas, you've slayers too, like myself. Slayers of such things as mealworms, sea monsters, and the like.
Oh, like, krakens? I heard Goldbeard call you a kraken slayer once.
Oh, he did he? His tongue is far too loose in his gob. But yes, I have that. Sobriquet, as they say in Britonia. Just as here in Lustria I've been called a carnosaur and hydra though these monikers don't really roll off the tongue, do they? Once it, aside from individual slayers, as we're talking about slayers still, there are a couple of groups of slayers that you may have heard of, manling. First, let's talk about the Doom Seekers.
But Strolvar, I've heard you describe yourself that way.
Aye, but all slayers are in point of fact Doom Seekers. We seek our doom, our end. But the Doom Seekers are a special warrior formation of dwarves that have truly lost themselves to their shame. Tell me, Manlin, have you ever fought in a battle against a goblin army?
I have not. I have not fought in any battles. A few skirmishes, but no battles. Apart from the Friday night rush at the bar. I fought a goblin or two in other circumstances, though.
I have no doubt of that. But what I mean is, have you ever seen one of their fanatics in action?
Again, I have not. That said, my uncle, Dieter von Torlichhelm of the Order of the Knights Panther, once told me of a large skirmish he fought in against some greenskins. It was near the border of Ostland. Here, several of your fanatics launched themselves out of a unit of goblin archers, spinning large iron balls attached to chains about them, before careening back into their own unit and killing them all.
Aye, they're the ones. One set. The Doom Seekers are basically the dwarf version of those. But unlike the goblin fanatics, Doom Seekers actually fight. They each run towards the enemy alone. Their only protection, the runic tattoos that they cover themselves in to ward away stray arrows and magical attack.
But why do they each fight alone? Surely...
Aye. Whatever you're about to say would no doubt be a valid point, except it isn't. It's because of the weapons they wield. They're whirling blades of death that are basically axes attached to long lengths of chain. You don't want your comrades in arms within 6 feet of you if you're using one of these weapons. 4 on the battlefield, each lunge into the enemy, wreaking bloody disorder, devastation, and death.
Ah, I see. Well, right you are then.
I'm not finished yet, manling. There is one other common group of slayers. The Sea Slayers, with whom I am currently fighting, and a good number of which are in this very tavern. Some don't take kindly to being spoken about, so let's leave him alone for now, before we get a pistol shot into our guts or a saber in the back.
Ah, that's a very good point, yes. All right. Ah, wait a moment. What of berserkers then? You've not mentioned them at all. What about berserkers? You know, slayers like you.
I have not mentioned we berserkers. But to put it simply, berserkers are simply slayers from Norskra. There is more to say, but I'll save that till later. It'll make more sense then. Once there are still 2 more types of slayers to mention. The greatest of the slayers, the infamous demon slayers and dragon slayers. Only the most formidable of warriors can kill demons and dragons. My mentor, Snorri Stonebreaker, my father's best friend, was both a dragon and a demon slayer, and someone from whom I learned much of the art of killing. It took quite the beast to fell him. A kraken, as it happens. Ah, a tale for another time.
Ah, fair enough. But, well, before I interrupted you and took us off down this tangent, you were telling me how you took the Slayer's Oath in front of the Shrine of Grimnir in Carrick Cadrin. What exactly is the oath? The oath that all these slayers take?
Ah, the oath. It's an oath to find a good death in combat and expunge the shame that brought the dwarf to take the oath. The specific words can vary, but in essence, that's it. It was slightly different from me, though. I remember it as if it were yesterday. Grimnir, witness me. I am a dwarf, and I am a seeker. Family and honor are our life's blood, and I have lost both. I am nothing. I seek to fulfill the oath I made to my dying father. I seek to atone for his failures and fulfill his oaths. For these are now my own failures and my own oaths. I shall become a slayer. I shall seek redemption in the eyes of my father and our ancestors. I shall become as death to those that oppose the path of my oath until I succeed and expunge my shame, facing he that takes both my life and my shame. Now, my oath caused a few raised eyebrows, but I ignored them. After making my oath, under the sight of these disapproving priests of Grimnir, many protégés of my own father, I cut my name upon the nearby pillars, my real name, that is, adding it to the scores upon scores of others already there. And that was it.
Wait, what? Strolvar is not your real name.
Of course it's not, manling. Strolvar is a Khazalid word. It means something like sea wanderer in your Reichsspiel. Who'd call their child that? Once it, I find it a suitable pseudonym for me right now. Not saying any more beyond that. There are certain parts of my past I'd rather didn't catch up with me here in Skeggy. Poor as another, manling.